Hello and welcome to Matchday Live. It's FA Cup weekend here in Manchester and we are one step away from Wembley. I am joined by Manchester City's fans. Make some noise. Yay! And of course our visitors, Newcastle United. Make some noise as well, guys. Okay, let's get your thoughts first. One game away from Wembley. You've travelled from Newcastle this morning. You've had a great couple of seasons. How are you expecting the game to go today?
I think it's going to be hard for us. I just hope we can nick a 1-0 win, maybe. Keep it tight. There's Bruyne missing, I believe.
Well, we'll see, yeah.
Well, we're hoping so, because he changed the game at St James's. So, yeah, it's going to be very hard for us, we've got limited squad, tight. So, come on, we'll do it. We can do a count soon.
Well, OK, this young man here, it's his first Newcastle United away game. What a lovely place to come to. You're more than welcome in Manchester. You're looking forward to it?
Yes.
Who's your favourite Newcastle United player?
Alexander Isak.
It's a great choice, to be fair. Alexander Isak. And then we'll come over, of course, to our regulars in Manchester. We see these guys every single week at the Etihad Stadium. First things first, are you excited for the FA Cup?
I am very excited for the FA Cup, yes.
How do you think the game is going to go this afternoon?
I reckon it'll be a 3-1 win to City.
And I'll come to Dad, of course. We are the holders of the FA Cup. The magic of the FA Cup still exists, doesn't it?
It certainly does, yeah. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing us lift the treble again would be nice.
That would be very nice, but let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Massive welcome to Manchester. We hope you enjoy the game. Of course, not too much. We're going to go and revisit the last round at Luton now. We're going to show you a VT, and then we're going to head to the studio where Cel is.
And tonight, the defence of that FA Cup continues with a trip to Luton Town. As De Bruyne gets round the outside and Haaland tucks it into the back of the net. De Bruyne into the gap for Haaland. Haaland's through on goal. Can he get his shot in? You bet he can. City coming forward and onside is Haaland. Can he get his hat-trick? City lead by 3-0. Walker into the gap. De Bruyne, can he finish? Plays it across. Haaland goal. De Bruyne assist. Can you believe it? As Bernardo Silva plays it to Haaland. Haaland! 5 for Haaland. And City have surely done enough to get themselves through. As Kovacic scores! And a terrific FA Cup tie. The Blues are into the quarterfinals of the FA Cup.
A very good evening, Manchester City fans all around the world. Welcome to Matchday Live and welcome to the Etihad Stadium where we are live building up to our FA Cup quarter-final clash as we welcome Newcastle United to the Etihad. After that incredible draw at Anfield last weekend, we're of course now hoping, dare I say, to stay in the hunt for 3 trophies. That man there says game by game, but I dare say it will be trickling into the players' minds. But of course, full attention will be on today's game, hoping for our first trip to Wembley this season. Remember, Matchday Live is the first place to bring you Manchester City's starting 11. I'm going to be bringing you that in just a moment. I can give you a little exclusive though and reveal that man there who just got off the bus, Kovacic, does start. We'll be bringing you the other 10 players in just a second. But how about this for a start? Since the start of last season, Manchester City have won all 9 of their FA Cup matches by an aggregate scoreline of 31-3. So in imperious form in this competition. Let's hope as well that's a good omen. And not a good omen for Newcastle United. Right, before we come to the studio, let's get straight into team news. This is our starting 11. Here's how we line up. After coming on at Anfield in the middle of the week, Stefan Ortega is in goal. Then Kyle Walker captains our side alongside Manuel Akanji, Ruben Diaz and Josko Guardiola. Turning to the midfield, Rodri, Kovacic, as I said at the start of the show, keeps his place alongside Bernardo. And then a forward 3 of Phil Foden, Jeremy Doku and Erling Haaland. Turning to the bench as well, we've got Scott Carson on there, John Stones, Nathan Ake. How great to see this man back in the matchday squad. Jack Grealish is on the bench alongside Julián Álvarez, Gomez, Núñez, Oscar Bob and Rico Lewis. And let's not stop our team news. Let's bring you the Newcastle United team. It looks like this. Dubravka in goal. Then we have Murphy, Shaw, Lascelles captains his side, Botman and Byrne, Longstaff and Guimaraes in the middle with Willock, Gordon and Isak completing Newcastle's starting 11. Substitutes there on the bottom of your screen. Good evening, my name is Cel Spellman. So great to be with you all. Welcome along to Matchday Live. I'm sat alongside none other than Mr. Paul Dickov and David James. So much great things happening on the show today. We've got Nader Manua and Steve Howie down there pitch side. We'll hear from them in a little bit. We've got a great game from Erling, Haaland and Rodri. And I've got a little treat for these guys coming up a little bit later on. But gents, let's get straight into that. David James, initial thoughts at Manchester City starting 11?
First thought is that we expected some kind of changes. Actually, it's not as many as I thought he may have done.
Yeah.
I was hoping that my new favourite, Oscar Bob, would have started, but with international football coming up, I don't think the need to rest players is as acute, and to win the game, as you say, get to Wembley, another trip to Wembley, put a strong side out, and that's what he's done.
Were there any surprises there for you, Paul, in that starting 11? Obviously, great to see Doku's kind of come in there from Anfield. Kovacic as well starting after coming off the bench.
Yeah, I'm delighted to see Kovacic in there. I think whenever he's needed or been called upon, he's been outstanding. And he came on last Sunday at Anfield, and in a game that was like a basketball game, back and forward, quite nervy. He really settled it down. He keeps the ball, he drives through the spaces, not just playing between the lines, but taking people on and commits people out there. And like every game, is it going to be Phil Foden wide and Bernardo in the middle, or is it going to be Bernardo wide or Phil in the middle, or are they both going to start wide and come into the middle to get the overload in there? So, but strong team. I didn't expect anything less. With the holders, come back end of the season, you want momentum, you want confidence. And we want to win it again.
Absolutely, we do. Let's move to the other side of the pitch. Stefan Ortega. We're going to be looking back at the Liverpool game in a little second, but obviously this is his competition as well, but maybe a big few weeks ahead as well, knowing that Edison, we think, is a little bit of an injury, so might be out for a little bit.
Yes, yeah, I think this save, massive, absolutely massive. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, if this goes in, you expect Liverpool to win the game. I know, like Dickov said, having been at the game myself, it was very ping-pongy in the sense went from one side to the other, but he never lets the team down. 100% trust in him, I think, from a side. The FA Cup is his trophy, as you mentioned there. It was, one goal last season away from a complete clean sheet. Not surprised he let a couple of goals in at Luton, because Luton are the best team in Bedfordshire. I mean, he's got a chance. I mean, again, because of international break, that gives Eddie that little bit extra time to get himself fully fit. But if he's not fit and they don't have to rush him back, then Ortega is a fantastic debutant.
He really is a very safe pair of hands, isn't he, Paul?
We'd done a podcast with Stefan a couple of months ago, and we asked him about how he prepares being a number two, and he said he doesn't. He said he prepares every single day to be the number one. And I mean, you were always number one anyway, but as a goalkeeper, it's special, isn't it? It's a special mentality to have.
When you think what happened at Anfield, it's Eddie getting caught, and he played on from the actual impact. So it wasn't an instant impact and off. He had to be ready, and I've learned from mistakes, or I've made mistakes not being prepared for a sub, but then learned had to be ready to play every time. So
can we understate how difficult it is? I mean, coming on anyway, but to be coming on in a game at Anfield against that Liverpool team, for him to kind of do what he did, I found him very impressive, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but this guy's played fantastic well at Wembley.
Yeah.
He's played in the big games, and I think that's the thing. Like Paul's saying, that he's prepared to play every time, even though most of the time he doesn't. Yeah. But when he does, he's ready for the moment. I mean, who wouldn't want to come on at Anfield in a top-of-the-table clash?
Yeah. And he done it Newcastle in the season when they get injured. Came on and was outstanding as well.
Yeah, fantastic. Also looking at the defence, Paul, great to see Josko Guardiola. Obviously, we know he picked up an injury, I think, a couple of months ago. He's been easing back. Probably a left back, but really excited to see him back in the team. Yeah, and then Ruben back in as well. Yeah. He'd probably benefit, whether it was a rest or not last weekend, we don't know, but having that little break. But Josko's been fantastic. I think people forget how young he is, and how historically it can take players a longer time to settle coming in at Man City, especially playing the full-back position, because we play it completely differently to what everybody else does, and he's a centre-half by trade. Yeah. The injury came at an unfortunate time, I felt, because I thought he was just finding his feet and he was getting better and better all the time. But look, from now on to the end of the season, 10 league games,
few more cup games, Champions League games as well. Everybody's going to need to be fighting fit, and that could well be the difference. You know, not just the size of the squad, but the quality in the squad.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a great moment in your podcast with Kovacic. Actually, I remember you saying as well that he spoke about that Kovacic spoke about obviously his fellow international teammate as a generational talent.
He did. He said even at such a young age, and for the last couple of years, he's changed the way Croatians feel about playing centre-halves. He said because he's that comfortable in ball, he's that good, he's that quick. He said, and the whole Croatian team plays differently when Josko's in it.
Wow.
And what a huge compliment that is when you get Modric there and all the top players that they've got. But they said the younger centre-halves, the younger defenders are looking at Josko Guardiola about how to play in the game going forward in the future.
Fantastic. What a great signing he was in the summer. Then just looking to the other end of the pitch as well, JMO. I mean, I want to take a moment, just feel like because of the form that he's in, but Phil Foden. I'm sure he'll be hoping maybe to get back on the score sheet because I mean I think he's scored more goals, most goals for him in a season so far, and we've still got, as you say, 10 games to go and Champions League, FA Cup as well.
Oh, well, it's true. I think Rodri's on his highest goal
as well.
For City. I think he might have scored more in a previous season somewhere else. But anyway, I think with Phil Foden, like again what Paul's saying, the question first of all. Actually, is it a question where he'll play? I think he'll play everywhere.
Yeah.
Left, right, and centre. The question would be, will Pep ask him to play in a specific role? And I think when you're looking at this Newcastle side, I think they've had a couple of clean sheets since Nick Pope's been out. They leak goals. Even Newcastle fans who I've met coming into the stadium today, I won't say what scoreline they said, but
they were slightly worried, weren't they?
It was not complimentary to Newcastle. I mean, the danger is that you assume that this game's already won and the players don't play. But the comfort is that you've got someone like Phil Foden, as you say, at this moment in the form that he's in, with Doku on one side or the other side, causing havoc, and Erling Haaland liking the FA Cup for goals at the moment. The ingredients is there for this to be a wonderful game, and an ingredient for Phil Foden to go away with the England squad and go, bagged a few on the weekend.
Jack Grealish as well, I mentioned at the start of the show, obviously, the last time we saw him was him starting against Luton, and I think even Pep said maybe came back a little bit too soon, which you can understand, eager to play, but feels now he wouldn't be in the squad if he's not ready, and hopefully, going back to what you said, Paul, building in that form now to the end of the season is going to be key.
It is, and look, there's no way I don't think even be involved in the squad or on the bench if they didn't feel he was fully fit after the setback he got against Luton. But delighted to see him back. You know, you could see the emotion in his face when he came off injured, how gutted he was. You know, he was devastated because he knew with the big games were coming up, the cup game, obviously Anfield, where, you know, if Jack had been fit last Sunday, I'm pretty sure he would have started again because he starts all the big games away from home, whether it be in the Premier League or the Champions League. But it'll be great today. You know, he's been left out of the England squad, so we'll get a few minutes of him today, a couple of weeks rest, then I'm sure he'll be flying for that back end of the season. But it's great to see him back. I love him.
Mentally, Paul, I mean, I think at Villa more or less, I don't think he really ever had, like, this season has been very stop-start for him, you know, and coming off the back of the unbelievable season he had last year and being so key. Difficult for him, but I guess a test for him as well to kind of deal with that kind of setback, and how do you come back from it?
It is, but he's a top player with a top mentality, you know, and I have arguments with people all the time about Jack this season. They look at his stats and everything else, but they don't, unless you watch City week in, week out, you don't see what he brings the team.
Yeah.
You know, he brings the team a different dimension, somebody that nobody else in the squad can bring.
Yeah. And
people forget he was out earlier on the season with an injury. Then he had an illness where he was out for 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And now he's had this as well. So it has been a bit stop-start. But look, the one thing I can say is if we get a fit, fighting Jack Grealish for the back end of the season, he's going to be a huge asset to us.
It's like with bringing on Kovacic actually as well, the idea of the way we can control possession. Jack is so key to that one, because I think Pep says one of his qualities is he'll always find that extra pass, which Pep loves as well, but also keeping the ball and getting those free kicks as well.
Yeah, I think looking back to last weekend against Liverpool, he had a fit, fully firing Jack Grealish. I think that whole game would have been very different, because he would have kept possession. That was one thing. I think both sides were guilty of it. Whether it was nerves, I think the conditions played a little part in it, because it was wet and a bit windy. But there was a lot of turnovers, unforced errors, the sort of things that Jack is not associated with. I think he would have kept that. But he does, and again, just sort of echoing what Paul says, you look at stats without looking at the actual performance, and I think you have to look at Jack's performance. The team know what he's going to do. He's not like Jeremy Doku, where he's going to try and take everyone on. He'll get in a position and wait for other people to be in the right position and generally play the passing. I think the injury thing as well, if there's a comfort for him, most players, it seems, this season have had some kind of injury, which is unusual. There's been so many players across the Premier League, if you like, of injuries. Along with not many clean sheets. I don't know, it must be something in the stars.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is.
I mean, well, Pep said it is. We had De Bruyne out for 5 months. Erling Haaland's been out for 2 months. Yeah, it's massive. But finally getting the squad back to full fitness, and there's a great stat here. If we do win today and we manage to get to the semi-final, that will mean City become the first team in FA Cup history to reach the semi-finals in 6 consecutive campaigns. So just shows the imperiousness, but also kind of...
I never knew that.
It's amazing stats, but like domination.
You didn't know a stat.
We got one. We found one.
Sometimes it's like we don't even look at that one. It must have been done before. That's incredible.
It's about total domination across the game. Well, really, since Pep's been in charge.
It is, but it also shows you how serious he takes the competition as well. You know, he's a winner. The club now wants to win everything. The players are winners, you know, so every competition they enter, they want to make sure that they're right at the very end.
Yeah, I met some, sorry, just going to go off.
No, go on, Dave.
I met some football fans this week, and someone said to me, "Oh, the FA Cup, you know, semi-final at Wembley. You know, is that right?" And I'm like, yeah, it is right. And for the City fans to be able, again, 6 years in a row, to be able to go to Wembley, everyone knows it's not the final. Yeah. But everyone knows it's still a special day out, and if you win it, then you can go to Wembley for the trophy. I mean,
people say it's taken away a little bit. I think it adds to it.
Adds to it.
I think it does. I mean, you look as well. To use the cliche phrase, magic of the FA Cup. Looking what Coventry did earlier on today, you know, to 2 goals to come back and beat Wolves 3-2, and for those fans as well, they were electric in that stadium. But you forget as well for them clubs to have a trip to Wembley as well. It's so important, isn't it?
Two goals in 90+ minutes.
Yeah, and the third goal was an absolute peach.
I've not seen. Don't spoil it. Come on.
Sorry. Right, let's take a pause here in the studio. Then a man who knows both teams very well, Mr. Steve Howie. We can get his thoughts on the Manchester City team. Then he will turn his attention to what he makes of Newcastle's starting 11.
Yes, thank you very much, Kel. Joining me pitchside is none other than Steve Howie. Steve, we've seen the City team, and where better to start than our goalkeeper today, Ortega. He came on at Anfield, he made a great save, and he's very, very confident and assured, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, the times that I've seen him, he's...
The picture of Grealish on the bus is one of the greatest sports photos ever. Brilliant, isn't it? Best thing I didn't realise about it.
We will come back to Steve Howie in just a moment. Sorry, we just dropped out there. So while we try and sort that out, let's us turn our attention to the Newcastle starting 11. Let me just recap that if you've just tuned in for you. You've got Dubravka in net, Murphy, Shaw, Lascelles captains the side, Botman, Byrne, Longstaff, Guimaraes, great player, Willock, Gordon and Isak. We were just saying, what is that kind of lineup, do we think, there from Newcastle then? Is it 5 at the back, Paul, do we think, possibly?
I don't. Initially, I looked at 5 at the back, but then I've seen they've got 4 out-and-out centre-halves there. I know Dan Burn has been playing left-back. So who's going to play right-back at a Botman, Shar or Lascelles?
Yeah, hasn't Dan Burn been playing a more advanced role?
Wing-back, but then I'm thinking... Murphy, right wing-back, if he does
possibly.
Go
what I found interesting is Lascelles' captain. He's only played once, started once in the last 14 games, either through injury or being on the bench, and that was in the FA Cup. So it's a.
You'd think maybe. I mean, if it is Dan Burn in the full-back position, left-hand side, Doku, you'd like to think would be licking his lips, Paul.
Or Phil.
Yeah. Bernardo,
or any one of them.
Yeah.
But I just look. They've been struggling, haven't they? Conceding a lot of goals, and I think the big thing. And me and David were talking off air about it. Is Tom Pope be missing?
Yeah. It's a big miss for them, I'd say, David.
Yeah, in a couple of ways. I mean, I studied him when he was playing, and the shots that he was facing was really weird. Only really wide shots or central shots from outside the box. So the team was set up basically saying you've got to get on the angle to shoot against Nick Pope, otherwise, and from the size of him, because he's a big old unit, becomes increasingly difficult. I think 8 clean sheets have had in the Premier League. 6 of them were with Nick Pope.
Wow, okay,
So the couple that they've had with the breaker in there, it just means they lead goals. And and again, for the right reasons, if I'm Phil Foden, if I'm Doku, if I'm Guardiola or anyone, I'll be going, okay, how do I get my opportunity to get my shots in and score?
looking at their attack, and we're going to be able to go to Steve Howe in just a second, ladies and gents. But I mean, that forward, I love Gordon. I really liked him at Everton. But they have got goals in them, and they are a threat there, aren't they? Them front three in particular, and Isak as well. He's a great player.
Anthony Gordon's had a great season, but I'm a big admirer of Isak. I think his movement's fantastic. He's positive every time he gets it. He's quick. We know we like to play a high line as well. And he has caused us problems previously as well. Then you've got Bruno in there, who I think's just a fantastic footballer. So attacking-wise, they'll always score goals, Newcastle. Yeah. But they have, unlike Eddie Howe's team, unlike them from last season, they're conceding a hell of a lot.
I hope City team aren't watching this in the change room and listening to Paul. Newcastle's amazing, score loads of goals, and everyone's fantastic.
There's absolutely no chance they're listening to me, whether they're in the changing room or not.
And if they are, good luck, lads. We got good luck out there. Right, let's go back to Steve Howe. He is pitch side with FG.
Yeah, I mean, the times that I've seen him, he's a very accomplished goalkeeper. I mean, he wouldn't be here if he's not. He's got an opportunity as far as what he'd be concerned, because obviously Edison's injury. And I'm pretty sure he'll grab it with both hands, you know, kind of excuse the pun if you want. But a very good goalkeeper. And as I said, you're not very good to be here. I mean, you've got to be very good, to be here, because he's a quality goalkeeper. Distribution's also very, very good. Good shot stopper. Seems to organise his defence very, very well. So I think as far as City fans are concerned, they've got no fears whatsoever about him coming in.
We are extremely lucky to have an incredible number two, in my opinion, the best number two in the world. And then we've got Manu Akanji, who came in at a bargain price and has been absolutely fantastic. He's shown so many strengths, especially as of late. If you didn't know already, he scored a couple of goals and he scored a goal in the Champions League, and a solid performance for him as well last weekend.
What was it, about 15 million or something like that? I mean, which is scary when you look at how good he is. I mean, the goal that he scored in the Champions League, Haaland would have been pleased with that. It was a side foot sort of caress into the goal. Saying caress, and it went in with some power. Excellent player, reads the game very well, big, strong, quick. You know, he can sort of step in there. Probably not like John Stones, but he's not frightened to do that. He believes in his ability. But a very good defender. I think one-on-one forwards don't like playing against him because he's big, aggressive and strong. So he is, as a defender, he's got what you want. So, you know, as far as the players are concerned for Newcastle, it's obviously a battle that they're not probably relishing.
And of course, let's look at the midfield. The goalkeepers just came out, by the way, and it's nice to see True Grant with the goalkeepers. Obviously, Edison's not here, so he's stepping in. He's a young lad. It's a massive experience for him, that, isn't it? It's a lovely experience to be involved that close to the team.
I think any of the young lads that have come into City, I think it's absolutely brilliant when you think about where City are, which is, well, they are the best team in the world. You know, so for a young lad to be amongst these brilliant pros, you know, excellent players, learning from them every single day, whether it's a goalkeeper, whether it's an outfield player, the experience that they must get, you know, just soak it all in, be a sponge. So today for him is absolutely brilliant thing.
Mateo Kovacic came on at Anfield. He came on for Kevin De Bruyne. A lot of people know about that substitution for other reasons, but he was fantastic, and he's a really, really good midfielder, and he's so good at controlling the tempo. How important is he to the system today, alongside Rodri?
I think it's very important. I mean, if you look at Rodri as well, what he does, I mean, for me, Rodri is the best player in that position in the world. And I know I'm sort of saying in the world quite a few times, but it is true. But Kovacic, I mean, what a player. Again, you don't play for the teams that he's played for. Very composed, just calms it down at times. He's always got that little bit of security, can put his foot in if needed as well. He's got that little bit nasty side to it, but then again, so is Rodri, which you need. But they've also got that creativity.
And let's talk about Jack Grealish. He's on the bench as well. I mean, it's brilliant, isn't it, to see him back so soon. He's super important to this system, isn't he?
Do you know what? I actually love him. I think he's a great player. He comes across as an excellent character. Obviously disappointing that he's picked up the little niggly injuries. You know, for a player, the worst thing about football is the injuries or not getting that consistency. You know, because he was playing very, very well, and when you stop, start, it makes it very difficult to get that consistency. So hopefully at some stage he'll see some minutes.
Well, we're super happy to see him. We're super happy to see that City team. Let's talk about the Newcastle team then. A massive one is Anthony Gordon starting today. He came off after, I think it was 30 minutes in the last game. He's been absolutely brilliant, hasn't he, since joining from Everton?
He has, and I think the lad deserves his call-up. You know, he's been very consistent, possibly Newcastle's most consistent player this season. I think he was unlucky not to be in the squads in November. I think the lad might have been thinking, what do I have to do to get in the squad? But he's got in it. I mean, obviously, we're seeing him getting carried off or walking off injured against Chelsea, and you fear the worst. But he's obviously recovered enough to play today, which he'd be delighted about. He'd be buzzing. As players, it's about confidence. So his confidence will be sky high because he's in the England squad. So he'll want to give a good performance today as well.
It's obviously a massive game for Newcastle today because essentially this could be this is their last chance of winning something this season. They come into the Etihad, they've got 4 centre-halves who are in the starting 11. How do you think, we're going to see Dan Burn at left-back, I imagine, like we have done. Do you think it'll be Sharp potentially playing at right-back in that system? And do you think it's going to be a flat-back 4 they're going to play and just try and look for a set-piece and look for a counter-attack?
I think they're going to be playing at like a 3/5. I think with Lascelles coming in, he'll play in the centre in between Botman and Shaw. I think Dan Burn's obviously going to play on the left. I think Murphy will probably play on the right. But as I'd said before, I think when they have got possession, they have to get bodies forward, because if not, it's just going to be coming back. And, the record here for Newcastle, they've lost 9 on a row here, which is a big thing. And I think it's 15, out of 16 games, I think they've lost 15, something like that. So it's a tough order for them. And as I said, because of results, and as you said, rightly so, this is their last opportunity to get silverware. They've got to give it a go without being silly, because if you're silly against City, you get turned over.
Do you think it's added pressure for the group of players, knowing that obviously they had such a sensational season last season? They haven't had a bad season this year. It's just numbers-wise, they've just looked a little bit short, and of course there's extra games. But do you think there's extra pressure for this group of players today to, if they do go out the cup, at least to go out by having a go?
Yeah, I agree. I think you've got to have a go. There's no point in coming here and try and... If you just come here and try to defend with City knocking on the door constantly for 90-plus minutes, they will open it and they will punish you. So I think, and we've seen games in the past with Newcastle and Man City. Newcastle have had a go, and they've been decent games. They've been relatively close. I mean, 3-3, there's 2-1s, but there's also been the other results as well for Manchester City. So I think Newcastle's got to go for it, as I said, without being too haphazard, without being too gung-ho. And if they do that, then they've got a chance. But it's still a tall order.
Well, it is a tall order indeed, but it's going to be a sensational match this evening. Thank you so much, Steve, for the amazing analysis as well. Let's hope for a game like we saw at St James's Park, hopefully going in our favour. Let's head back to the studio.
Thanks, FG. Thank you, Steve Howie, as well. And you can hear Steve on our Matchday commentary on the Manchester City app. He'll be alongside Alistair Mann, so make sure you get your ears around that when kickoff does come. Interesting point there, Paul, that FG was making, and Steve saying that is their last chance for silverware. So the idea, they can't really just come and try and sit and soak up pressure. They are going to have to come at us. And we saw at St James's Park earlier on in the season, they have got goals.
They have, but you would like to think they'll come and have a go. It's quarter-final of a cup, but you've got to be so careful coming here as well, and that you're not going to be too open, because we can just tear teams apart, as we've shown. Their record's not great here, but you would like to think that, Eddie, unfortunately for me, it looks as if he's under a little bit of pressure. And this might be a game that eases it a little bit, and we're talking about Coventry getting to a semi-final, us getting to a semi-final. The Newcastle fans would absolutely love that as well. So I know he's went with 4 centre-halves. Is it going to be 4/5? But they have got attacking players in there that you would like to think he could let the leash off a little bit.
You mentioned Paul as well, and I think Pep also highlighted him, but Guimaraes is a brilliant footballer and so key to the way they play. It's going to be a really interesting midfield battle in there today, David.
Yeah, no, I think offensively there isn't a problem for Newcastle. And you look at what they did last season, and essentially they got the same players, the likes of Willett, Murphy, whatever. Gordon, as you say, has obviously enhanced that, I think. But for what you get in that offensive beauty at times, and Guimaraes is one of the most beautiful players you can see on his day. They give up in defensive inabilities, and something that is so not Eddie Howe. Having worked with the guy, that is sort of like the start point. You're strong in defence, and then the rest will win games of football. So, like Paul says, I think it's... I don't know if we want like a mad 5-4. As long as it's a City win, I suppose you'd have it in normal time. But for a 5-4 to occur, there's going to have to be some really substandard Man City performances, and I can't see that happening.
It's interesting that David's saying there about, Anthony Gordon, and defensively. I don't know if you watched the Chelsea game the other night when they played against them, that he ended up switching Anthony Gordon after about 10 minutes to the right-hand side and putting Almiron over there because Gusto, the fullback, kept bombing on.
Yes.
And you could physically, you could see that Anthony Gordon was just standing there and not going back. It's left Dan Burn to. Dan Burn was tearing his hair out because he was left 2v1 all the time. I think Cole Palmer was going out with Gusto there, so very quickly had to change it because he knows Almiron will track back. But we both know our fullbacks love to bomb forward. So that's been a big problem for them.
Yeah, it has indeed. Listen, thank you, gents. We can see actually just there live pictures from the tunnel there. If you've just tuned in, welcome along to Matchday Live. Thank you for joining us. Paul Dickov and David James in the studio. Cal Walker captains our side. We'll bring you the team news on the bottom of your screen in just a second. Newcastle, they're the first team to make their way out onto the pitch. And there's that man we were just speaking about, Bruno Guimaraes. He does start as well for Newcastle. Gents, let's just take a pause from thinking about the FA Cup and just cast our mind back to the big game at the weekend just gone, of course, at Anfield. And I was saying all week, I'd have bit your hand off for a draw at Anfield. You know, I think it was a brilliant point, especially given that second half. You were there for us, David, and it was interesting. You were saying the atmosphere was a funny one, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, it was. I mean, it wasn't that it was a bad one. I think there's so many parallels to the game here early on in the season where that first half was City's. They score the goal, they look like they're going to cause problems, but even I remember coming, sort of thinking back to the game that was here, and this goal, we have to mention this goal, because I criticised Arsenal, and in particular Trossard, for taking players out. He's not pulling shirts, but he's actually physically moving, and what Aki does there, Nathan Aki, is move McAllister out of the way, which allows John Stones in there. It's a wonderful bit of play, and because it's not been a foul for Arsenal, there's no reason why it should be a foul for City. If I was in the Liverpool side, or Crystal Palace, one of the Arsenal one in particular, I would be complaining that was a foul. But anyway, they've taken used the rules to their benefit and scored a great goal. But the atmosphere bit was the second half when Liverpool had scored, because they scored quite early in the second half.
Yeah.
It mounted. Yeah. There was a noise appearing. I was thinking, here we go, this is the Anfield noise. And then all of a sudden it went down really quickly. And I think that was probably indicative because of the way the game was going. That one team would have a bit of possession, then essentially give the ball away, a bit more possession, and the ball would be given away. And it was very bitty in performance from both sides. But it didn't take away from what was a fantastic game of football. It was a brilliant game of football.
And also, I was interested actually, because then seeing City play more on a counter-attack, which, I mean, that reminds me back when we had Sane and Sterling on the wing, you know. But it was a great game. It's a great ball as well. And what was your assessment of it overall? Do you think either team, I felt like a bit, kind of both teams would be happy with that, do you think, Paul?
I think after the game, I think they would have been. I was a bit like, you know how positive I am. I think we're going to win every game 3 or 4 now.
I remember.
But I thought at Anfield, I thought we might have nicked it.
Yeah.
But I was saying I would have took a point all day long. Yeah. You know, especially with our record there as well, which hasn't been great, and we don't tend to perform that well there. But the big positive for me is we've went to Anfield before, conceded, and then conceded straight away, and conceded straight away with what David's saying about the atmosphere and then them getting on top of you.
Yeah.
You know, we managed that well, and I think we showed a lot of experience. And the game, I think the game being bitty, neither manager would have liked that at all, but it did make it a better game to watch.
Yes.
But both teams played quite direct.
Yes.
The one stat that surprised me, it was the first game this season that City hadn't won possession.
Yeah.
Interesting.
First game. Yeah.
That second half, I mean, God, it was a very long watch for me, that second half of football. I think it was Sam Lee as well, who's a brilliant journalist. I think he kind of summarised it, was saying was, oddly, it wasn't one of City's better performances at Anfield, but it was one of the better results. And we played better there and not had the result, but that's, I guess, you know, that's football. But it does mean that it stays so tight. We can bring up a graphic now here. We're going to get thoughts from Nadim Anua very shortly as well, so stay tuned. But take a look at this table. We, of course, have got Arsenal at the top on 64 points, matched by Liverpool 64 points. Goal difference, obviously, in Arsenal's favour there. They've got kind of 7 better and, well, 11 better than us, and we're 1 point behind. They're the next 5 fixtures. I mean, gents, you can't get any closer than that, can you, Paul?
No, you can't, but it's fantastic to watch. And, you know, I said even before the game at the weekend that I'm pretty sure some of the teams, if not all 3 teams, will drop points when it's least expected.
Yes.
There's a lot of tough games in there.
I mean, is there an easier run out of those next 5 games? I mean, again, even the fixtures, they all seem kind of pretty similar. I mean, Tottenham away worries me.
The
City.
Yeah, although the FA Cup this year, 1-0.
Of course.
Boom.
There we stay. We're not chancing.
First win at the new stadium, first goal and win at Tottenham Stadium. So that's an important.
That could move though if we win today, couldn't it? That if we
you don't worry about it now because you know that you can win that. The two big games. Of course, Brighton play all three sides.
Yeah.
So Brighton, and we know that Brighton are more than capable of winning or losing 4-0.
Yeah.
As a Luton Town supporter, I was there to see them beat Brighton 4-0, which absolutely surprised me until I realised it was Brighton. Like Paul, I think teams are going to drop points.
Yeah.
But I think only the winning team will only drop points in one game.
Yeah.
I still think 90 points is the mark to get to, and if you don't get there, you're not winning the title.
I think Tottenham have a big say because they've still got to play all three teams as well. I think they go to Anfield and then they host
but Villa are going to finish fourth, so
then host and the North London derby as well. So
there is
as well. So
also, I mean, it's pointing out.
Do you know, we'll just do it. We're doing 10 games in a row.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping for.
Yeah.
But I know also not to state the obvious, but Arsenal. Huge. I mean, you've got to think. You'd like to think we'll have a rocking Etihad Stadium. You get a win there, it'd be a big win, that wouldn't it, Paul?
Well, and look, the performance against them last season was outstanding. It's different. They're better, obviously, Arsenal this season, but I just think that in the big games, the big players come out. You know, and Kevin De Bruyne was sensational that game. You know, and the goal, how he takes it that far out, and then Jones. This was just before half time, wasn't it?
John Stones.
There was a big VAR check, wasn't it?
It was.
And it's the first time that a VAR goal gets celebrated as much as it did here. The atmosphere went off the road, and we were just so much better than them that day. You know, our record against Arsenal here is outstanding.
Yes.
But the last I mean, it's interesting again talking about the game on the weekend against Liverpool, how direct City were as much as Liverpool were, or more direct, shall I say. This game.
Yeah.
City were very direct. Etihad last season, City were very direct, and the game at the Etihad this season they weren't.
Yeah. And
I thought they were going to play similar to this, but they didn't. I'm wondering whether Pep's already thinking about it. I'm sure he already has.
No, this game as well. You're right, Jim. But Arsenal, they pressed right high up, and they left. I think Rob Holding played that game into Gabriel, and Ederson just kept.
Which is exactly.
And then we went and picked up the second balls and attacked.
So I was at the Luton game for the FA Cup, and they were the first team to play over Luton. With Ortega down. I was doing commentary and I was laughing because Ortega was side-footing balls to the halfway line. I think the second goal was his pass into Haaland, 1-2 with Kevin De Bruyne. And the thing is, if City are capable of doing it, you know they can do it, and Ortega might well be playing.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, he's got the distribution to do it as well.
Strangely, his distribution, I think, is more effective than Ederson's.
Do you think that causes Arteta a problem?
It causes
Arteta, how he sets up against us.
Yes, because you know they can't
does he want to sit in?
Yeah.
And bring them on to us, or does he want to go and press? It would be super interesting.
He will indeed. And we'll of course be with you. We've got a little international break as well in between that as well, haven't we? So
we've got a few weeks here.
We'll worry about Newcastle. But listen, Nader Manua is now pitchside with FG. It's great to have him on the show as always. Let's see what he's making of this all-important title race.
Yes, thank you very much, Kel. Joining me pitchside is the man himself, Nader Manua. Nader. Oh, the lights are flickering now. Oh, nice. Getting even brighter for you.
Right on time, yeah.
Let's talk about the Liverpool game at Anfield. What was your reflection of the game overall?
To be honest, I was interested to see what the players and manager and stuff would say afterwards. And I think for some, I think it was Kyle Walker in particular, he said that given the way the game went, you'll take a point. I think before the game, they would have gone there with ambitions on trying to take the full three, knowing what it means for the title race, knowing how like a bigger result it could have been anyway, taking points away from them. But the fact is the game was very, very tough. You know, they played particularly well in the first half, City, and then there were times in the second half when they suffered. And to be honest, welcome to the long list of teams that have suffered at Anfield. But the fact that they came away with something, Liverpool feeling like they could have gotten more, I suppose you'll take that and know that you just got to handle your business between now and the end of the season.
How important was that second half to dig deep and to get a result out of that game? Because there was moments in the second half, we'll come to obviously the decision at the end, where the game could have got away from us.
Yeah, I think it could have done. I think Ortega did very well to come on and to make some saves, and I think as well the change bringing on Kovacic, obviously Kevin was frustrated with coming off, but I think the manager could see that the team had kind of lost control in that game, and if you have no control at Anfield, like you've got no say in what the outcome's going to be. I thought Kovacic did well when he came on, and as you say, it's no surprise, Liverpool being a goal down at home, doesn't matter who they're playing against, but then if they are playing against City, it's a huge game for them, especially at the top of the table. So Liverpool gave it their best. I think City did weather the storm. They were fortunate at times. But
that's the storm as well,
exactly,
right?
No, just stand firm. You Stone Island. But that's what I'm saying. this is what's going to happen at Anfield. And I think even looking back, Phil had a good chance, Doku has a chance which comes off the post. So you've still got that tinge of disappointment, but the fact is, like, not many teams will get points there.
Back to the Kevin De Bruyne incident. As an ex-player, if you see that from one of your teammates, do you quite like that passion and that stuff, or would you rather it just didn't happen?
To be honest, for me personally, if I'm playing in a team that's got Kevin De Bruyne in it, like, I want him to just stay on the field. You know, that's the first port of call. But the fact is, like, the managers, how many games has he been in charge of? How many big moments has he been involved in, both as a player and as a coach? And I think you could sense that the game was getting out of hand a little bit. And I think the fact that he took him off, it's a big call. And I think sometimes, you know, we sort of question him because we see his potential. But I think it was something that, looking back, was needed. Not necessarily saying it had to be Kevin, but some change needed to happen. They made the adjustment, the game stabilised a lot more. And it became more of like a game between two sides as opposed to one just betting in and hoping for something good to happen.
Let's talk about the game today. Then one game away from Wembley, of course, with the treble winners. Do you reckon this dressing room is now thinking about winning that treble again?
Well, whenever you hear people talk from the team talk on the official Manchester City podcast, you can listen to that wherever you can find that. They always talk about how there's a lot of excitement when it comes to March, April time because you know you're in the business end of the season. I think for them, the challenge is there. They've seen the fixtures ahead. They've seen that draw with Real Madrid in the Champions League as well. And as you said, they know they're one game away from being at Wembley again for a semi-final. And considering they won the treble last year, for them to be in the same situation a year on, I think that's hugely impressive, and I'm sure that's going to motivate them to try and get it all done this season.
Have we had time to celebrate the treble, or does it just feel like, because I don't know about you, but as a fan, it feels like for me, that was one of the best moments of our lives, but it's just gone, and here we are again.
Do you know what? Unfortunately, that is the nature of football as such, but I do remember that cup final when Gundogan scores that first goal when that game's over. I do remember them winning the league when Chelsea, whoever dropped the points before, and then the Champions League final. We remember the Champions League final. So, yes, even though it's gone quickly, those moments will stay with you for a lifetime.
And quick one before we head back. City win today?
I'd like to think so. I don't think Newcastle's record at the Etihad is something for them to be confident about. And I think with the right sort of team out there and the right mentality, I think they'll do a really good job today.
Well, Nedum, absolute pleasure, as always. Thank you for joining us. Let's head back to the studio where David James is in the studio, and he got the prediction at Anfield absolutely spot on. So well done, J-Mo.
Well done, J-Mo, there. We had a lovely recognition for the correct result there at Anfield.
Well, you know, sometimes some people get it right.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
We'll be finding out if J-Mo can also get it right again today when we get score predictions at the end of the show. Right, let's take a look at our mystery blue. We, of course, bring you 3 clues throughout our show, so we'll be bringing you the 3rd clue at half-time, which means you'll have to come back to try and work out who the mystery blue is. There's the all-important WhatsApp number as well to get involved in the game and also get involved in the show if you fancy. But the first clue which came on at the start of the show was this player scored in the Premier League for 7 different teams, including both sides today. Paul Dickov was quick out the blocks and got this. I mean, it's the quickest I've seen anyone get it in seconds. And now J-Mo feels like he might have got it as well. But let's reveal clue number 2. This player is well known for his fiery temper, and it's not Paul Dickov. Does that confirm it for you, Paul?
Yeah. I didn't need it confirmed, but yeah. That did, yeah.
Right.
Can I give the viewers a bit of a tip?
Go on, then.
They don't have that hairstyle.
They don't have that hairstyle. Okay.
They might have that hairstyle. I don't know who it is.
Maybe J-Mo doesn't know who it is. If you do, use that all-important WhatsApp
know who
number.
it is.
You do? Well, off the hairstyle. We're going to find out.
He's a teammate of mine, but not from here. An ex-teammate.
Well, there you go. Lovely little clue there as well. Maybe that was clue number 3.
Yeah.
Right, if you do know, get involved with that. Now we're going to play a little game. So we're doing a bit of word association here, gents, OK? I've got some questions here, and I'm going to ask you to write one word down for your answer and then show it to the camera as well. So let's begin with your most underrated City teammate.
That I played with?
Yeah, underrated City teammate.
He wasn't underrated. He scored in 17.
I like this.
Oh, wow. Underrated.
Here we go. Paul's got his answer.
I can't.
We need
one.
Come on, we're under time constraints here.
Okay.
Okay. Paul, let's see if you've gone for. No way.
Wow.
Richard Dawn. Both said Dunny.
Underrated outside the club.
Yeah.
Not
Yes.
was it 5-player?
Yeah. I think he got it like 3 or 4. Yeah.
Something like that. But he
But
was
outside.
Oh, he was brilliant. Quicker than everybody thought. Such a good footballer. Great captain, wasn't he?
Yeah, a lovely bloke.
Top guy.
Yeah, he's an amazing man, and he's so great when we have him on the shows. Also, congratulations, Richard. Actually, I think he's taken up a little bit of a coaching role as well at City, I read recently as well, which is great. Well, he's over. Fantastic for the academy there. Right, a City teammate who could play in today's side. I have a feeling I might know you would go for it. This is a great question. And I can't take full credit to all the people watching at home. We have a great team behind the scenes who help craft the show. Okay, you can only have one, Dave. I'm sorry. Okay, here we go. Let's reveal. We've gone for, nice, Paul Dickov, Ian Bishop, Steve McManaman from David James. Let's begin with Bish. Great.
Did you play with Bish at West Ham?
No. Yeah, but if you'd said West Ham teammate, I might put Bish down.
Yeah. Not just a fantastic footballer. 2 spells at the club. Never lost the ball. People would say he wasn't quick, but he didn't have to be quick. Brain was super quick. And as a forward for me, that the runs that Erling makes, you just had to make a run and Bish would find you. Just such an intelligent footballer. And he's one of my best mates.
Yeah, lovely.
Oh, wow. Favouring his friend.
Yeah. Steve McManaman for you, Dave.
Yeah, he's one of my best mates. The thing with Macca was he had this ability, and I just couldn't understand how he managed to do it. He'd run at 2 players, and then you'd just see him run through them. And I'd be thinking, how have you just done that? And when you watch it back in his skill, I think he's the sort of player that would be able to change games today. Yeah. The fittest player we had.
Yeah, really.
Could run all day,
one of my mates.
Nice, lovely stuff. Right, now this is a good one. Greatest ever City player. Huge.
That we've seen. Live.
Yeah, whichever. Can be anything. I mean, yeah. You choose, Paul. That is a tough one. It's funny, I'd have to go with who I've seen. I know mine
I
would
don't know how
be.
to spell it. I've just taken a photo of his statue as well.
B-E-double-L.
That's very quick.
Right, I'm just calling him.
Yeah. Go for the first name. There you go. Right? I think that is right. Yeah. Okay.
Is it T-R-A-U?
I think it is. Yeah.
Oh, that will do then.
All right. Here we go.
Excuse me.
We have got revealed here. Off we go. That's who I'd have said, Paul. David Silva from Paul, Bert Troutman from David. Bert Troutman, unbelievable.
Yeah, and for those who don't know the story, and I'm sure there are some who won't, Bert Troutman was a World War II prisoner of war in Scotland, came down to play for Manchester City, played in the FA Cup final in 1954 or something like that.
Around then, yeah.
Broke his neck on the field, continued to play, ended up living here in the UK in England, and I was honoured to meet him when I was playing for City on the pitch.
Wow.
One day, and it was just like wow. And his trophy, his statue of him going down to save the ball is on the 2nd floor.
Yes.
In the main stand.
Have you seen the movie?
Yeah, it's a great film.
You've seen the movie?
Yeah.
I'd read the book.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Oh yeah, watch the
Fantastic,
film though as well. The film, there's a great film. If you've not seen it, well worth the watch. That's who I'd have said for me, who I've seen.
Yeah, I didn't want to pick a present player because I think you should pick your best player in the history of the club when they're finished playing. And obviously, Bell, Summerby, Lee didn't see them play, so I just thought he was just unbelievable. And what a good guy as well.
Unbelievable. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. I mean, he'd fit well as well now, wouldn't he? In this, he'd fit in any team, really.
Not as good as Bish, though.
No. Okay. This is a nice one. One word to describe the FA Cup growing up. 1, 2, 3. Whoa, nice! I'd have gone with magic, so you've gone with historic.
Yeah, even growing up obviously in Glasgow and in Scotland, the FA Cup final, Scottish FA Cup final, English FA Cup final used to be on the same day. But people might not say or admit to it, but most people used to watch the FA Cup final because of the history behind it. The build-up, it used to start at like 10 o'clock in the morning.
Didn't it?
Following the bus.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. So just the history behind it for me, and it's still there today.
It really is. Magic for you, David?
Yeah, my sort of first recognition of football was when I was cutting grass. Recognition of actually watching football matches on telly. I was cutting grass with an electric lawnmower and getting an electric shock. And the owner of the house got me in their living room and gave me like a fizzy drink, and the FA Cup final was on.
Wow.
So it was kind of like, nice.
Yeah, that is the magic.
And having played in 4 finals, it is magical.
Yeah, very, very special. Also, actually, just thinking there as well, actually makes that stat the fact that if we do win today, to be the first team to get to the semi-finals is 6. It's an amazing achievement. Right, final one. Excited for this one. A word to describe each other's playing style. You played against each other 7 times.
Bloody hell.
Dickov won twice. JMO, you won once, and then 4 draws. So fairly evenly matched.
Yeah, say that again.
So you played each other against each other 7 times throughout your careers. Dickie, you won twice, you won once, and there were 4 draws.
Yeah, I don't know that.
I've erased those 2 defeats.
Yeah, I've not.
You won once.
You only won once,
Leicester.
Possibly. I don't
I'll
know. It was in Leicester,
penalty.
I remember as well. But one word.
Now that I have the information and data, my answer becomes a lot clearer.
Lucky. David, you've gone for?
Frustrating.
I was going to put huge, but we all know that anyway. But it was, when you played against them, they talk about goalkeepers filling the goal. But this is from a personal point of view, because I used to be a little rat, and I used to like to think I could get under goalkeeper's skin by chasing them down, and he was just having none of it. I think he just used to chuckle at me a couple of times. just leave it alone, will you?
We can actually see, we've got a little clip here actually, Dickie, which I think you won't appreciate.
Oh, there it is.
There's the save.
I know. Do you know what? It's the only penalty I've ever took that I changed my mind.
Really? Is that one?
Yeah, and I'd scored against City here already. See, a lot of the City fans actually said I missed on purpose because we were both in a relegation battle at the time.
And what?
That was a massive moment, that as well, wasn't it?
It was, and I changed my mind as well.
Yeah.
What made? At what point? We don't worry. We thought we've got to put one on where you scored, Dickie.
Yeah.
Yeah, encroachment.
Yeah. Yeah, at the very last minute, I changed my mind.
Old Man City manager there as well, Mark Hughes. We said we're going to get it again. Let's have a little look.
Because I took a couple of penalties already against City, and I put them that side. I just thought, I'll do it. Yeah, that side. That was always my normal side.
You know when you said in the previous penalty that you missed? At what point did you like? Is it literally the second before, or like?
As I turned, walked back and turned to make my run up. I see, and he is massive, but when you're taking a penalty against him,
yeah,
and you feel as if you've got to be perfect. And I thought, it's mind games, isn't it? I thought I went that way before, I'll change my mind and go that way. And I never went that way. If I was going to strike it, I would always go down the middle.
Yeah.
But there you go.
There we go.
Yeah.
For one miss, for one score, there we go. It was kind of fair. Right, that's lovely stuff. Thanks so much. I really enjoyed that, gents. Now listen, would you like to win a signed Julián Álvarez shirt? Well, stay tuned, because I'm going to show you how you can do just that after you've seen the trailers to this awesome new documentary all about our Argentinian wonder kid, World Cup winner, treble winner, Julián Álvarez.
I had a dream when I was young.
¿Cuál es tu sueño que tenés en el fútbol?
I never stopped dreaming about it.
Sueño.
Jugar un mundial.
And then it came true. Calchín es el lugar donde he crecido.
Además que acompañaban a sus nenes a jugar, el papá venía porque había un plus, jugaba el araña en Calchín.
People went crazy for him.
You walk into that dressing room at Manchester City, you're nobody.
No se trata de dónde estás hoy, sino a dónde quieres llegar.
Y después no existe Julián, la araña.
La araña que pica. Estoy haciendo un documental.
He's quite shy, I think, at the start.
No me gusta mucho las cámaras, las luces.
Cántame.
Canto en la ducha nomás.
But on the pitch, you don't see that he's shy.
Anytime that he was going to the game, he was ready.
¿Quién estuvieron en el fútbol?
Compartir momentos con él es un sueño.
And Alvarez goes on. And Alvarez goes in to score.
No dream is too small. No dream is too big.
Messi's success in the World Cup was down to Julián Álvarez.
He's a player he wants more.
No te conformes, jamás te detengas.
It's a shot into the net.
You win everything you can win.
Backside and slams the ball into the net.
It doesn't get any better for a footballer.
He complete football.
He's achieved what no footballer has ever achieved before.
This is my story of my first season at City.
That is well worth the watch, so make sure you do check that out, City Studios production, and listen, if you want to get your hands on this, and there's that all-important magic scribble from a man who has won everything in football, the only player who, when he wears his club shirt and his international shirt, will have that gold crest in the middle. So if you want to be in with the chance to win this, you can only win exclusively here on Matchday Live. You want to go to mancity.com/Alvarez shirt. That'll be at full time. That competition is live, and then we'll be revealing the winner on our Matchday Live show against Arsenal, so you'll have to make sure you tune in for that. Right, pitch side now, as FG is joined by the man from Man vs Food.
Well, the Matchday Live show has gone to another level because I am joined by an absolute legend, Adam Richman. You probably know him as Man vs Food, but we'll come to that in a minute. First things first, welcome to the Etihad Stadium. It's a pleasure to have you here.
It is an honor to be here. This is a gorgeous place. Really beautiful.
Let's talk about your new show.
Okay.
Let's tell the viewers watching on Matchday Live what they can
expect.
So
Mondays at 9, Adam Richman Eats Britain, and it's honestly, I could sit here with sound bites, but it's my love letter to the UK. I think British food is unfairly maligned. Britain's given me so much. My great-granddad's from Leeds, so the opportunity to come back and champion the foods, and let's be honest, most Americans, when they say they've been to England, they've been to London, maybe they've been to Manchester, and to be able to show, like, Somerset has this incredible culinary profile, Leicester, Kent, we went up to Scotland, we went up to Wales, and I've just been blown away between the kindness, the culinary diversity, maybe the best dairy on planet Earth, and just good people. Like, we filmed it post-pandemic when so many restaurants really got hit hard, so to be able to kind of give them a little love and big up yourself, you know, is kind of awesome.
Well, he's already sounded like he's British. It's absolutely amazing.
Well, go on, fam.
Have you got a favourite? Have you got a favourite British meal so far?
I mean, in general, like, how do you top a full English? Like, how on earth? That thing is, like, amazing. They say sets you up for the rest of the day. If the rest of your day means sleeping, yeah, totally. But I love it, and good fish and chips. Like, here in Manchester, there's a place called Hip Hop Chip Shop that I used to love. I love the Flat Baker in Ancoats. We filmed in Bury Market. I had the black pudding at world famous Bury Market. So it's just amazing. I have so much more to explore, but it just bums me out that people think that everything is boiled, buttered, and steamed or whatever, and it's absolutely delicious.
Who would argue with this man about food? So make sure you watch the show. Let's talk about football. Let's talk about you being here at the Etihad Stadium. I saw in an interview you referenced a certain man, Erling Haaland, who's playing tonight. Are you excited to watch him?
I am, but I have to say, the guy that I have like a bro crush on is Phil Foden. I think Phil Foden is the goods. I just think the way he plays, there's like a kind of like a reckless joy with which he plays, and he's got that little N'Golo Kante, like, little spice. Like, whatever team he's in, he's better, and, like, you can't really put your finger on it. But I love watching him. Erling Haaland's a generational talent. But, yeah, no, Phil Foden's my guy.
I'm sure Phil will be absolutely buzzing to hear that as well.
Yeah, no, terrific.
There's an important question. Before the game, it's Manchester City against Newcastle United. Who's got the better food, Manchester or Newcastle?
I've never eaten with a bunch of Geordies yet. You know, I've had my Newcastle Brown and stuff. But and apologies to everyone that's ever greeted me with a why I'm on. But, you know, right now Manchester City is a global football superpower. And I can't imagine anyone standing in their way. I was hoping Liverpool wouldn't, I was a little bummed y'all didn't do the business against them because, you know, Arsenal's at the top of the table, and that gives me more indigestion than a food challenge. But, no, I think right now, I mean, City are just a blessing to watch.
And you are a blessing to listen to, and you have been a blessing on Matchday Live. So thank you so much, Adam, for joining us.
Thank you, my brother.
FG and Man versus Food. Let's head back to the studio.
Go on, baby.
Come on, baby. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, FG, as well. And thank you, of course, to Steve and Nadim, who we heard from throughout the show. Thank you to you for watching. It's not long until I hand over to Alistair Mann for commentary. Before I do that, though, quick predictions from the gents in the studio. We can see the boys are in the tunnel, ready and raring to come out as we take on Newcastle in our FA Cup quarter-final tie. David, I'll begin with you.
Well, first of all, Adam, Man versus Food. His record is impressive, but not as impressive as Pep's win ratio. I think this game will be won by City in the first half. I think Newcastle possibly might score late on. 4-1. I'm going to go for City.
4-1. Mr. Paul Dickov.
I'm going to go for a comfortable 3-0 win.
3-0 win, clean sheet from Paul. Love it. Look at that man there, the big man. Erling Haaland ready to come out. So that does mean, for me, it is time to hand over to Mr. Alistair Mann. But before I do, we just want to take a moment to mark 5 years since the passing of a Man City legend, Mr. Bernard Halford, who was Man City life president. He sadly passed away 5 years ago today. There he is, lifting the trophy. An incredible man, a legend of the club. And we're thinking of him and all his family today. Thank you so much for watching. Alistair Mann has got your commentary on the Manchester City app. Do come join us at half-time. Come on, City.
Well, thank you, Kel. Very warm welcome to the Etihad Stadium on an evening that is sure to promise great entertainment. It was the second leg of the Blues' historic treble. 9 months on, they are again on the trail of the world's most famous knockout cup competition. This time last season, they overcame Burnley at this stage. This time around, they face Newcastle United, seeking to become the first team in